Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around the first half hour. We kind of delved in a little bit of what the Bernie Sanders, Donald Trump dynamic means for their respective parties early on here. But, Doc, you said something interesting because Jeb Bush doesn't seem like he sweats very much unless he's out trying to give a speech on the soapbox in 100-degree heat, which I think anybody would sweat
absolutely
pretty profusely. I sort of have some thoughts about that, but I'd like to hear why do you think he's not worried about Donald Trump that much?
Well, I listen, a lot of these guys already knew each other from a long time ago. I mean, politics is a small family. And here's Jeb Bush, who has, the last report I got, he generated $114 million. In other words, 10% of $1 billion, and that's what he needs. So he's already 10% on his way. His fundraising has not slackened. He continues to raise money at a phenomenal rate. A lot of the people that Jeb Bush was going to, millionaires, billionaires, are still giving to him. Donald Trump really has not made a lot of inquiries into, hey, can you give me money? And in fact, and here's a rumor, and I haven't verified it, but apparently somebody tried to give him $5 million, and he said, yeah, I don't need your money. I'm just going to do my own thing.
That's what Trump said?
Well, that's the rumor I heard. But Trump turned down the money.
That would make sense, because if he started taking money if he started taking donations from folks, that would undercut his entire brand that he's developed for himself.
Absolutely. And so there's Jeb Bush. He's firmly in second place. A lot of the polls, a lot of times, and this is the problem. Remember when Brad Zahn got beat?
Yep.
Right. A lot of people had David Young in second place, their second choice.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have either Trump or Bush, either one or two. There's a lot of them like that. And that's a consistent thing. I mean, individual polls will say individual things, but that's basically the trend. 3, Bush, having been a veteran and having a brother and a dad who have been presidents, understands that a lot of times patience and letting the storm blow over is a good strategy. He doesn't necessarily have to win Iowa, because I don't think Bush has ever won Iowa. But the bottom line is he's got plenty of time. His focus is in other states. He doesn't have a lot of people on the ground. He's doing the stuff that he needs to do, but his strategy is different. And I think it's a strategy that, if he has $500,000 or $500 million in the bank by January, which is feasible and possible,
mm-hmm.
That gives him a leg up. He just starts out spending everybody.
Well, and
so what do you think?
Well, I tend to agree with all of that, but I also think that Jeb Bush is a politician. He's looking at this field, and he's seeing his real threats are from other politicians with real policy proposals. Now, I might disagree with pretty much all of them, but at least a Scott Walker or a Marco Rubio can sit and talk about certain things without using the word beautiful and terrific to describe the outcome of said policy proposal that doesn't really exist. The central reason that I understand, that I would believe if I were to sit down with Jeb Bush and talk to him one-on-one about why he's not super threatened by some of the Ben Carsons or the Donald Trumps, is that, and this is not to take anything away from either of those two guys, they're not serious. They're not trained politicians. They're not serious. They're not
policy ones.
Yeah, they're not serious policy guys, which eventually you have to be. You can do a lot on personality alone. I think that we proved that in the 2000 election. George W. Bush did basically his entire campaign on policy or on personality, except that he was able to talk about certain policies that he had as governor. He was able to talk about certain policy proposals that he wanted to put in place. For example, No Child Left Behind was something that came out of that 2000 campaign that he was able to talk about, education reform. Donald Trump, first of all, has failed to do that almost entirely throughout his campaigun. He talks about...
There's one exception, immigration. He laid out an immigration plan that has been fairly well received.
He's kind of admitted to this. He's a single issue candidate at this point. Yeah. But because everything else he talks about how great he'll be. I'll be the best on jobs. Why would you be the best on jobs? Because I know about jobs. Well, okay. Ben Carson has fallen into that a little bit too. And the one problem that Jeb has is that he's a little rusty. He's come out a little rusty. He's had to backtrack on some things, some very obvious traps. He's fallen into some with the women's health issue gaffe from last week. He's made some pretty obvious unforced errors, but I don't think it's going to hurt him. All that stuff.
I don't think so either, because people understand he's not a politician.
Yeah, I'm talking about Jeb Bush.
Oh, I thought. Well, Ben Carson.
Yeah,
his spokesman had to walk something back.
Yeah. Well, but see, in a huge field like this, with so many months to go before the first caucus, that's going to happen. But I don't think it's going to make much of a difference.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. Jason texted in and said, according to the Iowa State Fair poll, Bernie beat Hillary by 0.5%.
Yes, yeah, no, the Iowa State Fair poll he did, but the overall Iowa poll, Hillary still has a fairly comfortable lead.
But that still can't be good news for Hillary. So let's talk a little bit in the remaining minutes of this segment. Ed doesn't think Hillary's strategy is working, and I don't think it's working either. I mean, she is plummeting in the poll.
And you went on his show.
Yes, I did.
And I didn't get to listen to any of it, but I talked to Ed just this morning. Said that you guys had a pretty good conversation. That he was surprised that he agreed with you as much as he did.
Well, I'm a reasonable guy. I'm pretty smart, and like I said, most liberals are closet conservatives.
I just think that you're a wounded lefty, buddy. Somewhere along the line, your idealism. Somewhere along the what do you call it? You're a wounded leftist.
Yes, I'm always hopeful that those that haven't seen the light yet from the left will gradually come to the light.
Somewhere back in your 20s, when you're still hopeful, idealistic, and had a lot to offer the world, you.
I still have a lot to offer the world.
You got hurt.
300 pounds of offer right here, buddy.
You got hurt. You got hurt by a liberal, and you said no more. I'll never again. I
was classified as a teenager. I was the lone guy in my class in school, in grade school, that voted for Gerald Ford, and I was the lone guy in my school that voted for Reagan. Okay, so I've used to being in Indian countries, surrounded all the time, right? So I'm just letting you know.
Fair enough.
They called me. One of the things that would shock me on the campaign trail is I was a Reagan radical, a radical right Reaganite, right? Mm-hmm. That's what on the campaign trail they said, I'm a moderate. I'm like, what? No, I believe the same thing. Anyway, that's not the point. We probably should just take a break now. When we come back, we'll talk about
Hillary. Yeah, absolutely.
Got a little distracted. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back right after this.